Big up, big up, big up to every single one of locked in, man. Make sure you're liking, make sure you're subscribing, show some love to the channel, people. We're back. We're back for another live stream. Chelsea talk, transfer news, manager talk, the lot, man. So make sure you're liking, make sure you're subscribing. We've got an amazing guest today, bro. The OG of Chelsea YouTube, Mr. Goonie, man knows football. How are we, man? How are we?
What's going on? What's going on, bro? Thank you very much for inviting me on the platform. I don't do this much, but it's always good to talk football again, man. But yeah, man, big up yourself, big up everyone that's in the live as well. Make sure you smash up that like button, subscribe, all of that good stuff.
Big up to you, man. Big up to all of you locked in, man. Come on, guys. Let's get the likes up, subscribe. Listen, there's a lot of places we can get started. Obviously, transfer news, Club World Cup is around the corner. We've seen a couple of players that we've been linked with. We struggled to sign. Talk to me, man. First of all, let's talk about, because obviously I've got Maresca in the title on the thumbnail as well. Because the last time we spoke, we had Pochettino, so it's been a while, man. It's been a while. Talk to me about Maresca and how you saw him last season, and did you ever think to a point where you might actually want him out, or did he overachieve or whatnot? Talk to me, man.
I'll be honest with you. I'm still not convinced by Maresca as much as most people are. However, I am a fair man. Is if you achieve what your task was at the beginning of the season, regardless of how you do it, then I suppose it's a strong case for you to have another chance for the next season, which is what I'm willing to do. But I know people might think I'm an old school type of fan, but I'm very much of standards. You know what I mean? I want to bring in a manager that's been there, done it, and can pass on their winning ways to us, to our Chelsea boys. You know what I mean? Because that's all I want for the team. That's what I want for the best. So, in terms of Maresca, look, he's Chelsea manager, in it. There's not much I can do. I'll criticize him when I feel that he's wrong, but at the end of the day, he achieved his task. He got top four. So, what more can I say for now?
Yeah, I wasn't really convinced either, man. I got cooked for saying bringing in Zagi and all the man. Like I was saying, listen, Maresca, I'm sorry, man, with the squad you've got, with the players, with the clubs, and that are competing for the top four,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't. It's not that big of a difference, you know. It's not Nottingham Forest. I'm sorry, you shouldn't be competing with the Nottingham Forest. I don't think anyway. And yeah, cool. Last game of the season, and it wasn't really great football. What am I supposed to be really getting so overexcited about? But listen, people are backing him. Like I'm with you. I'm not 100% convinced. Even the Conference League final, the first half, I was like, wow, we're actually going to lose this. We're actually going to lose this. But then obviously he made his changes and it made it happen. But now it's his, second season now coming into the second season. We're looking to build a proper squad. I think we've already got very good players and we're looking to build an even better squad. Manyan and Gittins for the Club World Cup. Both deals didn't happen. A lot of debate is going on about Manyan, bro. Should we have paid the full fee? Should we are we right to wait for the Club World Cup tax to finish and maybe even not get him on a free? Would you have paid that over 20 million, or are you agreeing with me? Because I'm like, listen, I'm not paying the 20 plus million for him when I can get him for free or 12 million. Because at the end of the day, AC Milan have to sell. They ain't got a choice, but they have to sell. You know.
Um, I I slightly disagree because it's based off this principle. Is before this Club World Cup and when the Premier League season finished, sorry, the Conference League finished, there was a lot of press talk about how we want to get in 3 or 4 players in before the Club World Cup, right? And we were briefed that Maresca didn't trust the goalkeepers, which I believe is true. A lot of people tried to come out and take a U-turn on that take after we didn't get Magnan, but for me, that's just PR. He definitely doesn't trust our goalkeepers. So for me, it's a failure. It's an absolute failure. And look, I understand from a financial perspective why, and a business perspective, why you might wait. But when you put things into perspective as well, into footballing perspective, where else are you going to find a keeper of Mike Magnan's standard with the wages that he's willing to take that fits our structure? And he's that willing to come to the football club for that price. And we're talking 20 million euros plus 5 add-ons. And we don't even know how realistic those add-ons are going to be. So for me, it's worth the risk. All right, I might slightly overpay here, but reality, this is a 40 million minimum goalkeeper. You know what I mean? And if I have the ambition to win the Club World Cup, which will boost my revenue by an extra £100 million, then it's going to look like a drop in the ocean if you do win the tournament. And that's what he does. He improves us in every aspect. And it also makes sense. Now, before I continue, I actually think that we're going to go back in for him at some stage.
So do I. I said that as well.
For me, at that price, it makes less sense to not go for him. And then on top of that, we've got a young goalkeeper called Mike Penders, who I think could be a very, very, very good goalkeeper. And then because they're at both ends of the spectrum, Penders is very young. Maignan is getting towards the senior side of his career. But as a goalkeeper, you know, they have a bit more longevity. So he's got a lot to teach this young and up and coming talent who could potentially be better than what Maignan is. You know what I mean? So I think the dynamic works. And all of that for a nominal price tag when you think about the quality that you're bringing into the club. But that's just me. That's just me. And on top of that, it's not my money. I suppose it will be a different conversation. If it's coming out of my own back pocket, it's a different conversation, innit? Let's not be hypocrites. But from a pure footballing perspective, I think that we should have done it.
I mean, I agree with you in terms of we're going to go back in for him. I don't see how we don't go back in for him. And I would be total agreement with you guys and everyone else in the chat and a lot of people that if we don't go back in for him, it's a howler. It's 100% a howler. Sanchez can't be a number one goalkeeper next season. You know, it can't be. It can't be. No way. And I don't think he will. People love to read into, okay, whatever you want to call it, PR briefs. People pick and choose. Now the Paez news has come out, talking about that the plan was also always to bring him to America and get a field training with the team, but they want him to use, also go to Strasbourg and get good preseason. People are now saying that's PR, that's rubbish. They're just trying to save themselves, or Paez's agent stuck it on Chelsea, whatever it is. No. At the end of the day, the briefs are always going to come out, and people are going to pick and choose what they want to believe. I genuinely don't see how, even if it's just a brief, that Maresca wants a new goalkeeper. You see how Maresca changed his way of playing at the end of the season with Sanchez, and for the deal of how cheap it was, and even the briefs again, good, amazing market opportunity. For that to be the case and not go back in for him won't make sense at all. So not only will it be bad enough that Sanchez will be a number one, but will also be terrible because they should have got the deal done, and they had multiple opportunities to get it done. So I'm not going to say it. A lot of people say, "Oh, you back Clear Lake, you back whatever Spawn that records." No, that's not the point. I'll tell you right now, if they keep Sanchez number one, it's a massive failure. But I agree that we shouldn't be paying 20+ million on a goalkeeper who's got 1 year left on his contract, who wants to leave the club. Milan needs to sell. Why am I going to sit and agree to what you guys are saying?
So now what if Manchester United say tomorrow, fuck it, we're going to pay for it? How stupid are we going to look then? You see what I'm saying? Like you can't always hunt for a bargain when it comes to football players, bruv, because time is not always on your side. Because remember the caliber of goalkeeper we're talking about available for that price. Any top team can just pick him up. They can just make a decision. Boom. You know what I mean? We don't win or lose Club World Cup on a goalie. I'm sorry. That is a nonsensical comment. I honestly have to say.
He's basically saying Maignan doesn't change it. Like, he's not the difference between us winning or losing the Club World Cup.
I'm not. I know more needs to be added, but like when you're talking about the goalkeeper position, that's the one of the most, in fact, if not the number one non-negotiable position. You never, ever, ever compromise with your goalkeeper. You go for the best standards as you can for anything. So I highly disagree with that, me personally. Same situation as the striker. That's why I'm very, very harsh on Nicholas Jackson. You never, ever compromise on your goal scorer up top, because those are the two positions that win you games, essentially. Your goalkeeper, he can save you points. Your striker's going to win you games. You know what I mean? So for me, those two positions, non-negotiable. And the lion's share, sorry, I didn't mean to come across as rude. I was just expressing my opinion. Respect to you, obviously, to your opinion, but I can't agree with that. I highly disagree.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different takes, man. I had a debate with people saying these sporting directors, they're clowns. They have nothing. They don't know what they're doing. We shouldn't have, like I said, we shouldn't have bothered ourselves with all these players. And You know, what's Stanley doing on that? And I'm just like, listen, the main thing that annoyed me was people were saying we were supposed to move different after achieving Champions League. We were supposed to move different, but you can't come to that conclusion yet. It's still too early to come to that conclusion.
That's what I was gonna say. Is look, as frustrated as we get in the moment, because look, let's all be honest. The transfer window is an emotional roller coaster for everybody who really loves football and supports a club and wants them to do well. It's an emotional roller coaster, but we also have to remember we shouldn't really be making final judgments until the window's closed. I have to remind myself of that. So when I'm seeing these deals of like Mike Magnan falling through, and then we're being linked with this guy and that guy and it's falling through, I've got to remind myself, well, the window's not closed yet. And anything is possible in a transfer window. We're talking about one of the most volatile businesses going, where things can just happen at the drop of a hat, honestly. So sometimes I've got to remind myself to, you know what, have some patience, just chill, just wait until the end of the window before you make any kind of criticisms or praise. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's what it is. Let's just chill. Let's just wait to the end of the summer. Some people don't want to wait. Some people want to move now. Me personally, I'm waiting to like a couple days before game week 1. Let me see what they've done. Let me see what our team's looking like. And this is why we also say it's a big season for Maresca, because I do think we are going to sign good players. Like whether that's good players to you is different, but I think, you know, Morgan Rogers, I think that's a great signing if that happens. You know, we're linked to players like Kudus. These kind of players that they're not like, let's be real. Are these signings that also move you as well? Kudus, Mort Rogers, the Ekitike, of course.
They do on conditions though. These names individually, yes, I like them as players, but you can't look at players from an individual perspective. You got to look at the bigger picture. And for me, is those signings will only be amplified if we address our key areas properly. My immediate concerns in this whole transfer thing, outside of the directors going and us bringing in better ones, that's not going to change. But my main thing is goalkeeper, centre back, another backup left back. Did I say striker already?
Not yet.
Striker. Address those things first. Address those things first. Because that's what we need to address. Look, Delap is a good player that we've brought in, but it's not enough. And we need to get players out of the door as well. We need to bring in centre-back options, because I'll be damned if we go into the Champions League, even with Disasi and Badiashile and these guys on the bench. Absolutely not. We've got to sort that mess out. We're not going to the Champions League with Sanchez, our number one goalkeeper. Petrovic is leaving. So that means what? We're going to go Sanchez Yorkson again. Because we're not going to trust Penders. He's going to go over to Strasbourg if they're clever. So these areas must be addressed. Now, if you address those areas properly, they raise the level of these signings even more. Because now, let's say you've got, I don't know, he's not coming, but let's say you've got an Oshiman caliber striker that's there. And we've also signed Kudus. He's going to love that. He's going to love having playing with a player like that. Do you know what I mean? Let's say we bring in a Morgan Rogers as well. He's going to love creating for these kind of players. Cole Palmer's going to improve. Our whole team's going to improve. But if we do not address those problematic areas that we've been having, there's only so far I think we're going to achieve.
I hate, but at the same time though, so in terms of left back cover and centre back, is this Hato guy, Haito or whatever from Ajax? This guy's a cover left back, can play centre back. Goalkeeper is obviously Manyan, and apparently here as well, he's paraphrasing, but he's saying Chelsea were basically going to explore the Manyan opportunity in the last week of August, and he's shocked that they went in that early. So it's probably because of the last year of contract, you know. Let's try get. They're gonna force their hand basically in the last week. Yep. So let's say Manyan. Midfield were covered, covered, but centre back. The centre back and left back cover is the same guy. Let's just say Haito and the goalkeeper. Midfield were covered. The left wing is bad. The left wing is very bad.
It's horrific. Yeah, that's so actually bad, a position that I've not mentioned.
Yeah, well, left wing is quite scary actually. How bad it actually is. Right
Yep.
now, it's only Mudryk and Tariq George on the books. And Mudryk, I don't think you can even count
play
him.
football?
I don't think Mudryk you can even count him. You know, you don't even count that guy. So we basically only got Tariq George, and that's why when people say forget the likes of Rodgers or Leao or Kudus, whoever it is, Chelsea are going to end up going for what's his name, a Gittins or Garnacho. We're going to end up probably going for both of them.
We're gonna get we'll Gittins, that deal will happen after the Club World Cup. But for me, doesn't move me, bruv. Not gonna lie. Now, if you're going for someone else like a Yildiz instead, that would move me a little bit more. For me, I'm pissed we didn't go for Shirky. But obviously that's different, but it's a different position, but still, like I don't know, Gittins just don't move me. But I hope again, look, if he comes in and he proves me wrong, fantastic. I just feel there were better. I wish there were better options out there, man. I wish there were better options.
But it's just a backup goon, isn't it? Like we can't really. Is Shirky gonna walk in? I mean, Shirky at Man City, they really need him though now. Shirky at Man City will probably get more game time than he would get at Chelsea.
I guess.
You know, I think Gittins is only like
I don't know, because Shirky can come off that right as well, you know.
Oh, he's gonna play on the right for us.
Well, with Palmer and him, either way, it's Palmer and him. They can play in the same team 100% because they can just swap positions throughout the game because it's never rigid. Those attacking players always have fluid movement. They occupy each other's positions at different phases in the game. So
yeah, the Gittins one is he's just I think for a number. He's just we need a player in that position. I don't know if we would have went for Gittins if we would have kept Sancho. Does that make sense?
Should be going for we should be going for Rodrigo, mate. And whoever says, "Oh, we can't afford these wages," yes, we bloody well can. We can afford them wages.
If he's available, I think we'll go. Like he's not. I don't think you can deem him as available right now.
I don't think Real Madrid are pushing him out the door. But if you give him an 80 million, they're taking that. They're taking.
He's going to take. He can't just he's got to make a decision as well. You know.
Yeah, but if Real Madrid say, "Listen, like." You might as well take that because you're not going to get that much football here. Then it's a different conversation. So we don't know. Listen, these are all hypotheticals anyway. We don't know what the conversation, how that's going to transpire. You know what I mean? Because as far as I'm concerned, I know his preference is to stay at Real Madrid. But then if we're to believe the reports, he's open to come into the Premier League club. I assume the non-negotiable there's got to be Champions League football. We've got Champions League football. You know, I don't see why we don't just lift the wage structure that we've got for certain players. Where you got to look at exception and say, yo, we've got to pay him this, we've got to pay him that. And people will say, well, then what about Caicedo? What about Palmer and so on and so forth? I agree, pay them as well. Pay them as well, because the thing is potentially, obviously there's no guarantee, but potentially when you're keeping, especially a Palmer or Caicedo on these kind of wages, you're essentially borrowing time. Because now, not only are they going to think I could get more money elsewhere, the salary increase that another club can give them, it's easy for them. Because if they're capped at 150, 180 mil, 180,000 a week, these clubs are giving 220s, 230s, 250s for jokes. Galatasaray are doing it, for God's sake. So we've got to really start thinking about this and stop penny pinching on the wage structure side.
Bro, I didn't know Galatasaray had money like that, bro. I did not know Galatasaray had money like that, man. They gave him, what's that? What was it, like 10 million a year? Is it for Sane or something? 9 million? It's
something ridiculous.
I don't even know they had money, but I think we will, though, Goonie, for the right players.
That's what they keep saying, but we haven't seen it yet.
We haven't seen it yet.
This is what I do believe. What I do believe is that they will spend in excess of 100 million for whatever if the play is necessary. But because I've seen it happen twice, they've done it with Enzo, they've done it with Caicedo. But I've yet to see them break the wage structure. And there are players that we could do with now that weren't breaking that wage structure. You just said it. That left wing position, we need somebody there. If Rodrigo is, at least try. If you're actually making a bid and trying and you're having a conversation with Rodrigo and he says, I don't want to play for you, that's different. But at least you've shown us that you've got the ambition to go out there, break your wage structure for the right player. We've not even seen that. So that's why I can't put my faith in them doing it until they show us.
The only thing I will say is that the way at least I think it works, and I think we get an idea of how it works. The club will go straight to the agent first. The agent will always know what the player wants. You know, I'm sure Rodrigo is aware of the interest of Arsenal, from Chelsea, you know, and the list goes on for many clubs. It's
Yep.
down to the player to go down to the agent and say, okay, listen, we can start talking with these clubs, and then sort out, because the agent obviously knows what the player wants, his requirements and whatnot. I doubt that Chelsea have had zero contact with the agent. I just think it's the
I
guys
definitely
that
think they have. I think they have.
I think they have. It's just a case of you have to be interested in the move. And I've said this before. This is Real Madrid. Real Madrid go out and take club's best players
There's
on the
nowhere else
low.
to go. There's nowhere else to go from Real Madrid.
This is
That's the
it.
thing.
It's
Nowhere else.
it's going down.
Yeah, and that's no disrespect to every other club. If
It's
you know
not.
football, you know the history of Real Madrid. That's what it
And
is.
him especially as a South American, he's
Oh
going
yeah.
there. He's like, bro, why am I leaving Real Madrid? You man, I've got a contract. I'm okay. But from us looking in, like, bro, you've got Vinny who's playing in your main position. You've got Mbappe who's probably ahead of you to play left wing. The only reason he's not playing left wing is probably because they got Vinny and they ain't got a striker.
Right.
You know, I just see it that way. I just think if we went for someone like a Gula or Brahim Diaz, I think Brahim Diaz is a baller.
I love
I think Gula.
I
I think if you
wanted
go
him,
for them,
and
they're
I
probably
wanted him
better.
when he was still at Fenerbahce, bro.
Yeah.
That's when I wanted him before Real Madrid snapped him up. Bear with these young players I see, and I'm like, we need to sign them at Chelsea. And then I get told off. And I keep telling people, you see this constantly signing youth players, I'm also against it. But you guys also got to understand that sometimes there are exceptions to every rule. And some of these young kids can come in and contribute straight away. Look at what's happened. I've been saying, you see that Argentinian kid, Mastantuono. Been saying Chelsea break. As I'm saying to people, I know he's a baby still, but he's an exception to the rule. You bring him to the team, he can contribute now.
Yeah.
They didn't listen to me. Now look, Real Madrid went and got him. Yeah, you see what I'm saying. So no, I like Gula. But yeah, if a talent like that comes up, people, sometimes you just got to accept, like, yeah, he's an exception to the rule. Because let's say if we were presented with a Lamine Yamal, what would we have said if we signed him for like 4 million euros or whatever, something nominal? A lot of people, including myself, would be like, who's this guy? Why is he here? This is Chelsea Football Club. He's not ready to play.
Well, we've done it. I'd say Santos. Look at that. If anyone, Santos hasn't. I don't think he's put a Chelsea shot on yet.
But Santos was another bait one. That's one. You see, when Pochettino gave the nod to loan him out, I couldn't understand that, because yes, preseason is preseason, but even what I saw in preseason from this guy, I was like, there's no way. Him and Angelo were cooking. I was like, there's no way you can loan this guy out. There's no way you can't loan these players out, because I think they would have cooked for us.
I remember he played in preseason. I do remember.
Santos has always been a special player.
But that's the exception to the rule there, in terms of,
yeah, he's
had one preseason, and if you saw breaking news right now from Fabrizio that Chelsea are selling him, the club will flip on his head.
Yeah, we'd be fuming. I'd be
fuming. So that's the exception to the rule there. Maybe even Esteval, you know. But players,
yeah, we don't know with Esteval. I mean, it looks fantastic over there in Brazil, but as we know, Europe is a completely different kettle of fish. But then, would it surprise anybody if it went either way? If he didn't do so well, I don't think many of us would be that surprised. If he did really well, based on the talents of what we've already seen, I don't think many of us would be very surprised.
Yeah, but I the main reason I mentioned the likes of Diaz and Gula, but and even I wouldn't say I want him, but Endrick, because I feel like these are kind of players you could convince on a move out. You know, in terms of, bro, Gula don't get minutes. Diaz doesn't get minutes. And you go to Rodrigo, I think it would be very easy for I almost said Ancelotti, for Alonso to convince him, be like, no, I want you as my player. You've only really got Vinny in front of you. We haven't got a striker. So Mbappe ain't going nowhere on the left. And I've only got really Vinny in front of you for a long season. And of course, they're Real Madrid, so they want to compete on every single front and win every single trophy possible. So he's going to say, no, you're a valuable player to me and I need you. Yeah. If I was Rodrigo, I could easily be sold on top of deeply inside, I'm not even trying to leave. I'm not even trying to go. I'm not trying to leave like that. So that's why I think Rodrigo is more of a dream. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't know where this Rodrigo news even came from, where he was all of a sudden so available, all of a sudden let's go get him.
But
I
the
think
thing is, I believe that it is true because it's been like this for a couple seasons with Rodrigo.
right.
The speculation has always been there because he's not getting the first team football that I personally feel that he deserves. You know, he's a top quality player, and when you got quality like that, you know, and you know it as a player, you don't want to sit on the bench your entire career. You want to go and make a difference somewhere else. You want to go and prove yourself somewhere else. And he's a player that if he comes through the door at Chelsea, I believe that that moves the needle massively in terms of attack.
Yeah, it 100% does. Guys, listen, big up to all of you locked in, man. Make sure you like, subscribe, and show someone to the channel. I've got Goonies link in the description and in the title as well, man. Show him some love. I think one thing we can confirm, I don't know. We see Alex Goldberg, yeah, you're aware of him. He gives his little information. He's got his links or not. He did say that he's 100% sure that Rodrigo has spoken to Thiago Silva.
I'm not happy with Alex Goldberg at the minute. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Why?
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna listen. I ain't gonna start sending for Alex.
Yeah. Let's not do that. Alex is good.
You see, Alex Goldberg as a person, the conversations that I've had with him and stuff. He's a very, very cool, humble guy. 100%. It's just one of those ones where me and him just need to have a little phone conversation and it's gonna be fine. You know what I mean?
I've spoken to him for many times on his playback. He's a funny guy. He's a good guy.
He's a cool dude, man.
Yeah.
He is.
He did say that Thiago Silva has Rodrigo spoke to Thiago Silva about. I can't remember because I don't want to quote him wrong. I can't remember if it was life in the Premier League.
I know what I saw that quote. I saw it.
Is it the life in the Premier League or life in London?
In London.
Was it London?
Yeah.
Okay. See, that's
yeah, but then London is also a very vague thing to say because look, you've also got Arsenal that's over there in North London.
Well, if we're being real, it's Chelsea or Arsenal. We're not going to. But
of course.
But that's where I agree with you in terms of he probably has that feeling of I deserve more minutes than I'm getting because I'm not gonna lie to you, you're not speaking to a player who's played in that city for no reason. Oh, I might visit London on holiday. How was it? I'm sorry, he's not doing that. He's definitely interested. So listen, if he's on the market, go for him 100%. But there's also other players like Leao apparently has become available. And I'm a massive fan of Leao, and this chat cooks me 24/7 about it. And I'm sorry for how bad our left-hand side is right now. Our only left-hand side is Tariq George, who's a Cobham graduate. I don't know how you turn your nose up on someone like Leao, honestly. And I think you got to use this opportunity from AC Milan, who need money, who are willing to sell. And I'm sorry, we use about how we're trying to get Rodrigo off Real Madrid and how it might be difficult because of their because obviously they've got players in front of him, but he can still easily get minutes, and it's Real Madrid. But I'm sorry, someone like Leao, you go to him, you say, listen, you've been at AC Milan for a while, you've achieved what you got to achieve, you won the league, you ain't got Europa League football, you ain't got Champions League football, your best players are leaving, you've just seen Reinders leave, Theo Hernandez might be on his way out. Use that as a strategy to get him out of the club. Come to a Premier League, Champions League football, new experience, London, whatnot. That I think is feasible and is doable compared to someone like Rodrigo, who I think, it will be hard to get because himself not wanting to leave.
Let's put this into perspective, right? Leao, they're gonna ask for 70 to 80 million euros for him. Facts. I know that to be true. That's what they're gonna ask for. Rodrigo, they're gonna ask for, I don't know if it's euros or pounds. But either way, 80 million. Which player warrants that much or that money more? Rodrigo or Leao?
100% Rodrigo.
Okay. So now my question is why would you pay something so close to Rodrigo for Leao and not go for Rodrigo instead? If you're within that ballpark, it makes no sense.
I agree with you if you can get Rodrigo away from Real Madrid. But I think if you can't get Rodrigo...
Yeah, okay. No, I get what you're saying. I fully get what you're saying now. Yeah,
I know. Listen, I'm not going to lie to you. Agreed. Listen, I'm shameless. I'll say this right now. I will take Leao over Rodrigo, but that's pure bias.
Yeah, I mean, not that I agree with that, but hey, I respect
You know
it.
what I'm saying? This is pure
feel.
bias from me because I've wanted Leao for years. So now that he might come available, and all these times we've been linked to him, and they've slapped a £130 million release clause, and all these lot.
Is
I'm
Leao
like,
is Leao your Musiala? Have
you know
Musiala?
what I'm saying, bro? Like Leao is the guy, bro. So even though Rodrigo, of course, he's a better player, and of course, especially when you look at the price difference, it makes more sense to go for Rodrigo. But I don't. But everyone was saying, no, don't go get Leao. Don't. I'm sorry, but if Rodrigo is not available, who is the second best option after him?
I think you can. I think at the very least you've got to put him in for consideration. Now, if you're to have the conversation, now here's the thing: if someone was to say to me, Leao or Gittins, I'm taking Leao 8 days of the week.
Yeah,
it's that simple.
Yeah. But the thing is, I do think it will be. If I'm being honest, I don't think it will be Rodrigo or Leao. If I'm being honest, apparently, anyway, apparently Milan are pricing out
every player. Exactly.
Yeah, they're pricing them out. But I don't think. I think it will be a Gittins, and I think it will be a Kudus, Simmons, Rogers kind of player who's going to who can play at 10 and on the left, like a left-hand side, 10. That's what I think they're going to go for. They're going to got that out-and-out winger in Gittins, and then they want that profile over Rogers, Kudus, Javi Simmons.
I hope it's Kudus. I really hope it's Kudus, man.
You hope it's good. I'm a big fan of Rogers, though. I think Rogers is a player.
I think Rogers is a very, very good player. I wouldn't necessarily be disappointed with him, but for me, Kudus is the one I want, man.
On the left, though.
No, not on the left. As an option.
This is the thing. We need someone on the left. This is where I lean towards Rogers over Kudus, is because I think Rogers.
We're gonna need somebody. We're gonna need someone on both sides because I don't think Madueke is staying either. And if he leaves,
you don't think he's staying?
I don't think so. I think he's out the door.
I did say this on my stream. Ideally, the dream for the way I want to see Chelsea is Leao on the left. You get rid of Madueke and you go get Kudus. But if you don't get rid of Madueke, you can't get Kudus and Leao.
Because then, for me, the options of that right-hand side being Esteval, Kudus or Palmer, it's good. It's good for me. And
Esteval's definitely staying next season, yeah?
You
think he's definitely staying next season?
Who?
Esteval.
He'll be at Chelsea. I don't think they loan him to Strasbourg. Yeah. I think they feel he's, that exception to the rule the conversation we just had. I think Chelsea feel the same way with him. But if they do, look, if they loaned him to Strasbourg, I would get it because for me, it's a case of if Andre Santos can be loaned over there, then anybody else can. Any one of these youths can. But I would like to think Esteval will have minutes at Chelsea next season. And then if it's not quite working out for him, perhaps send him over there to Strasbourg in January. Maybe that could be an option.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, this is interesting with these links because the main thing with Rogers is that Aston Villa are effed with PSR. Like, they need money. And I've heard Ben Jacobs, who's obviously made a massive comeback this summer in terms of how reliable he's been. He said they need the money, but they ideally want to get rid of what's his face, Ramsey, over Rogers, because obviously Rogers is a much better player. So they need money. So that's where I think Rogers probably most likely, and even Kudus. Apparently West Ham offered them. It's like everyone's offering players to Chelsea at this moment. The only one I think I wouldn't go for out of all of them, and it's probably the last one out of the option, is probably Simmons. I think he's a good player, but I don't think he's better than Rogers. I don't think he's better than Kudus. But it's interesting you said about Madueke, I didn't expect that about Madueke. I thought he was going to stay.
I think he's going to get sold personally.
Why do you say that?
Newcastle are pretty interested in him. That's one. And Chelsea also open to offers because he's improved enough for them to make a profit anyway as well. If we're being honest, he's a lot better than what he was when he joined the club. He's now England international. He's won a trophy. He's had a season or two in the Premier League. Makes sense. They can get a nice 50 mil for him, 55 mil for him, 60 mil.
You think you'll get 50, 60 million?
50. Why not? He's English as well. English tax. If you weren't English, then you're looking at 40s. I don't rate Madueke like that. I'll be
I
honest.
think Madueke for Chelsea is a bench player, but I think he goes to. I think he rips it up in a Newcastle or Brighton or a couple. It's just that one level below. Even Tottenham. I think in terms of top six, I think Tottenham is the highest he could be playing at. For the Premier League in terms of top six. I don't think he's good enough for any other top six club. I think for Chelsea, if you sat and told me next season your number one right winger is Noni Madueke, I would say no, thank you.
Yeah,
no, thank you.
I've been wanting this guy out the door for a while anyway, so it's not terrible news for me.
I mean, 50 million minimum, then I'm sorry. That's a no-brainer for me. Especially if you go out and you can get in Kudus for what? 70 million? 65 million for Kudus? That's serious. That's what you call business.
If we do let him go for 50 million, there could even be the argument with West Ham. It's like, well, we've just let Madueke go for 50 million. What warrants you giving us Kudus for 70? We'll do 60. These are the things that will end up happening. So, like, clubs do pay attention to the price that they sell players for when they go in for the next negotiation, because you see how they'll bring it up in conversation. The opposite can happen as well. The other team can be like, well, you sold this player for 50 million, so why can't we ask for 60, 70 million for him? Look at what happened when Cristiano got sold. Yeah, the 80 million from Manchester United to Real Madrid. Players weren't really being sold for more than like 40 million them times there. 40 million, maybe 45 million was, and then afterwards the doors were opening because it was like, well, Ronaldo went for 80 million. I want 60 million for this guy. I want to. You see how it works?
Yeah, but it's true. It's true. And I'm sitting there and like saying, oh, what 60 million, 50 million, 55 million for Madueke? Bro, look what Gittins they're asking for Gittins. It's just a price
and
of it.
Is he even better than Madueke at this stage of his career?
No. That'll be disingenuous to Madueke.
Exactly. So why can't an English club as well in the same league who are rivaling for the same thing as us?
Yeah.
Newcastle know this.
Yeah, you do.
They know it's a reasonable request because when the shoe's on the other foot, they're gonna do the same. They're gonna say the same thing. Oh, you want Isak? Well, why should we sell him to you? You're in the Prem. We both trying to challenge for top 4. You're our direct rival. Why should we sell to you? Same principle. So the only thing that makes sense to them is if you will buy at a premium price, a little more than what he's worth. And then on top of all those 3 factors that I mentioned about Isak, Madueke has also got the English tax.
Yeah. But really? One thing I will say though, Goonie, about the Kudus one is the 70 million is the rumored price that West Ham are asking for. Yeah. And apparently this is true as well, that Kudus was obviously offered. I think obviously you make a good point in terms of if what's their name? If West Ham are not in a position where they have to sell or they want to sell, then I hear what you're saying. But if they're the ones that have come out in the first place and said we would take 70 million or this is the price we would be willing to sell, because his release clause apparently for the 10 days is 85 million. So they're thinking if you can give us this money quickly, we'll lose out on that.
But this is, in my opinion, where they lose negotiating powers. Because now when you go around and start offering your player, you're immediately lowering his value if you're offering him out. He's supposed to generate that interest on his own. Maybe you can put word out that West Ham may be willing to listen, but when you're offering out players, now that 70 mil that you're asking for is going to sound like a ballpark range to any other businessman.
Yeah.
Because if they're pushing to sell the players, like they're asking for 70, but if they're really pushing to sell the player, we're going to sit down and watch the rest of the window. If there's any interest that comes in for him, if no one comes in for him, then we're just going to throw him a 60 million offer and see what they say.
Yeah. But see, people are saying you could do a poll of Leao or Kudus, but they're different players, they're different positions. I wouldn't really be comfortable saying Kudus on the left-hand side. I think I would rather go for Rodgers in that case, or I would rather go for Leao.
If it's for the left, then Kudus is not for me on that left.
But if you're getting rid of Madueke, then oh my god.
Well, yeah, exactly. Bring him.
You know, oh my God, if you get rid of Madueke, then fine. Listen, Kudus is someone that can walk in and start straight away. And you know what? It's better for us because then, say Palmer plays on the 10 and Kudus on the right, or you play Palmer on the right. Or the thing is, Palmer on the right, I think we should forget about with Maresca as a manager. I joke, like, especially now the Club World Cup, we'll see it because we haven't got that many attacking options. If you don't see one game of Palmer on the right, then we know for a fact forget Palmer on the right next season. So, but let's just say, Kudus on the right and Palmer on the 10, Esteval on the 10 and Kudus on the right. You can rest Palmer because then the level goes to the next.
Here's the thing: is like on paper, obviously only one person can occupy each position. But throughout the game, they're all going to alternate naturally.
Facts.
Yeah. And especially when they're all like-minded, versatile players, they're going to know how to occupy each space. So for me, that's why I don't really get too fixated on the roles of the player anymore, especially when all three of those who occupy that space behind the striker are all of a similar nature in terms of they can play in all three positions. You just leave them to their devices to just interchange when the game calls for it.
Facts. But the point is as well is that if it's Madueke, even though they're interchange or whatnot, if it's Madueke and Palmer or Madueke and Esteval, it drops significantly compared to if it's a Kudus.
Madueke is not a player that can play across the back that attacking line. For me, his glaring strengths are on that right wing.
Yeah.
When you put him centrally, I feel he's less effective. He can do certain things here and there, yes, but I don't think he's as effective as he would be on one of the flanks.
Yeah. Well,
go ahead.
Yeah. Because I was saying that but in terms of if you was to start, say, Palmer and Kudus, they can go wherever.
Yeah,
Kudus
exactly.
and Esteval, it can go whenever.
Exactly. Cole Palmer's a perfect example. You saw in the Conference League final when he decided to take matters into his own hands and he just kept on coming in off that right channel. You saw how devastating he was.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But then that's just understanding to be able to go against, well, we don't know, but speculation is he went against manager instruction. I feel that he did. But like to be able to do that,
who did
a serious Cole Palmer. Because did you know what he said at the end? He's like,
in the final.
I was tired of passing the ball backwards and sideways. I wanted to take matters into my own hands.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is I don't think Maresca would have taken offense to that because players, they do take their own initiative sometimes. And they're not robots at the end of the day. You don't control them with PlayStation pads. You've got to let them have that ability, that freedom to move and that freedom to think and let them be their own players. So I think that's what was done off the whim. I thought we said, you know what? Manager Gaffer said, I'm down the middle, but we're going to change that. I'm going to occupy this right side. I'm going to absolutely destroy their left back. And I'm going to put balls in the box. Just someone get on the end of them. And that's what he did. And that's the same principle with these players altogether.
Yeah, it's true. It's 100% true. Okay, I'll get a poll going. We'll say, let's just say left-hand side, because I think Kudus is more of a right-hand side. And I think Leao and Rodgers, I don't know if you agree with me, Goonie, but I would say for the left-hand side, I would be more happy with the signing of a Leao or a Rodgers than a Kudus, specifically for left-hand side.
Rodgers, man, I really like Morgan Rodgers, but I just love him so much more centrally because of how effective he is at carrying that ball. And I just feel like he's got that. Like, you know how Loftus-Cheek before he got injured used to pick up that ball and just drive through that midfield because he was just strong and such a player. I think Rodgers, that's where his strengths are. I don't really want to see him out there on the wing like that, bro. You know what I mean? So I struggle with that with Rodgers. If we're gonna sign him to strictly, occupy just that side and not be fluid, then I don't know.
But it's the profile they want, bro. The profile they want is a 10/left-hand side hybrid on top of a Gittins who's a out left winger. This is what they're looking for. So I listen. Noosa as well. Apparently, someone's been relatively linked to. I'm gonna keep it as realistic as possible. I'm just gonna say Leao, Rodgers, Noosa. Rodrigo, you could argue should be in there, but I don't think he really wants to leave.
I would also throw Yildiz into the mix, but at a lesser extent.
Yildiz.
But he's Turkish. He plays for Juve.
Yeah.
I know we've been looking at him I don't think interest is as strong as the others, but I think he's also an interesting option. Very
I've
technical.
got Leao, Rogers, Nusa, and Yildiz. Let's see what a poll I've got to say for that one, man.
Yildiz for me is a very, very technical dribbler. I enjoy watching players like that play. Might be a little over selfish sometimes, and decision making might be a bit erratic from time to time, but the overall talent of the player, I think he's decent.
Do you see this one? Do you see a world where we can use Noni to get Kudus?
I don't think we have to. I think we'll use Robert Sanchez to get Kudus. If there's any player we're going to use.
If we're going to use anyone, then yeah. But I think Matt Law did say Chelsea are not out and out looking to sell the player.
I don't believe
if a good offer comes.
I don't believe that for shit. And after the Club World Cup, that's when we're going to know. Because if they go for Maignan, how can Sanchez possibly sit down and be the number 2 goalkeeper? What are we going to do with Jorgensen? Sanchez ain't going to want to be a number 2. As shit as he is, he's still not going to want to be a number 2. Because remember, most of his Premier League career, he's been the number 1 choice goalkeeper. At Brighton, number 1. At Chelsea, number 1. He's not going to settle and just take bench. He's going to want to go and play elsewhere. And you already know, Graham Potter loves this guy.
I don't see it. I don't see how we don't go back in for Maignan. It honestly will not make any sense. And a lot of people say, yeah, but what these lot do never make sense. But I generally, we listen. We got a little insight here. Rich Money Makers. He says he usually brings in a little information. Big up the legend. Keep an eye on Kudus. They want Robert Sanchez and Drewsbury Hall. Don't listen to PR about keeping Sanchez. According to my sources, that's it. Hit the like. Big up to Rich Money Makers. And he's got another one that in July we're going back for Milan goalkeeper, according to my sources. So listen, it just don't make sense if we don't.
Yeah.
I mean, Petrovic is a number 1. Petrovic, you see how people lost their mind.
He's being sold.
Yeah. KG, the thing is, difficult one. The player has to agree to go. Like I see, but I don't see if you're Petrovic or even KGH. Are you saying no to a move?
It's even worse for Petrovic because on top of that, it's like, so Chelsea, you're really saying to me after the season that I've had, Robert Sanchez is still your number 1 goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Listen, you see, if the answer is yes, there's nothing much else to discuss. I'm just getting my stuff. The only thing I'm gonna say is just getting me a good transfer fee and just get me out of here. That's it. There's nothing else left to say.
Who's the 2 combination you would go for? So like Anthony's saying Rogers and Kudus. So let's put this into this. Let's say Newcastle come in and say, here's 15 million for Madueke.
Yeah. I'm gonna
go. So now the right hand side, Madueke is gone.
I'm gonna go get Kudus.
So we need a right winger and we need someone for the left hand side. Whether the left hand side is a Leao or a hybrid 10, who would it be? Let's just say we've signed Gittins as well.
The right side for me would be like I said, Kudus all day long. The left side for me, if he becomes available, hands down Rodrigo. But that's a big if. If not him, this choice is gonna surprise a lot of people. But it's what I like to see from my players. I'm going for Yildiz, mate.
Who is Yildiz? Obviously, I know him. Like in terms of I've seen
notes.
Is he Turkish?
But I just love to see. You see, my thing is, with Yildiz, it's as much as I think he'd also fit. It's just the profile of players I like to see are technical players, like really gifted technical players, and he's a really good dribbler, excellent technically. You know what I mean? And he's got a little bit of a brain on him. Look, there's a lot of things about him that can be refined. Yes, of course. But that's just the type of player I enjoy to watch. And I think he would be good enough for the club.
Is he an out-and-out left winger?
No, I'd say he's a number 10. You know, some people will throw the hybrid word around. I just think he's a baller. I just think any part of the attack outside of a striker, I think he can occupy it and he'll do an excellent job. I would. You just have to obviously give him the right development, and you've definitely got a player there.
What I would do, if I'm being honest, is people are gonna say bias, but right wing, I don't think you'll get better than Kudus. I think if any club needs a right winger right now, especially a Premier League club, I don't think you can do better than Kudus. And I think people are saying his last season, it was a bad season. The guy was playing for a relegation side, West Ham, bro. And I think he's the type of player. We all know the kind of player in football was that, bruv. You know what? I'm too good for you lot. I give up. I give up trying. I'm just too good for you lot. And maybe he had a little sense of that. But if this was last season, same time last summer, and we were linked with Kudus, everyone would have went mad, crazy excited because of how well he did. So I would say Kudus on the right, and yeah, I would go for Leao personally, as a fan favorite, someone that I wanted for many years.
Fair enough.
And
But you know what?
I think
The lion's share does make a good point, though. Yeah, it really, these conversations should be really centered about what Maresca wants. What we want is, it's just a pipe dream. So I'll put my hands up to that and say fair enough. But then now the question is would Yildiz fit the profile of what he's looking for? I think as an option on that left side, definitely, because Gittins is a completely different profile to what he is. He's more of a natural winger for me than what Yildiz is. You know what I mean? So they're both two different profiles, and I think they both fit. So
I think that's what they're going for. In terms of what the manager wants, I think, like, again, listen, people are not gonna like this, but we want some inside information. And according to Mr. Goldberg, he said that Maresca does have a lot of more of a say this time than probably a lot of other previous managers. So this is important, and I think it's clear that Chelsea, which is why I did say I think it will be a Gittins and a Rodgers, or Gittins and a Simmons kind of profile where they play a high. I don't think they're going to go out and get two out and out left wingers. Because I think you see with a striker, the lap, and I think there's a reason we're probably not picking up the opportunity on Osimhen. I think they saw the lap, they picked them up, and they're not going to go for Delap and Osimhen, who are very similar. They're going to go to Delap and someone like Ekitike, or how do you know how you see this? The guy, the 6'6" guy, we're linked to. Water mother, whatever.
However you pronounce his name. If there's German people in here, apologies. Like, I've got no idea how to pronounce his name. But
yeah,
I haven't seen again. Look. You see with him, right? The little that I've seen of him, he looks supremely talented. I think for me, he does look really talented. Only thing is you can see like there's a lot of room for him to develop. One of the glaring things about him, right, despite his height, is I don't think he fully understands how to use his body strength properly. Yeah. Because I've seen him like get knocked out of 50-50s where you think, how on earth are you losing that? All you had to do was just put your body right in front of the ball, and that guy was never going to knock you over. But then instead he's going for 50-50s with a Blancs man like this, not understanding how to use his frame or whatever. I think once he starts to understand that a bit more, you're going to see good development. Lacks a lot of pace, but makes up for it with just how technical he is. Like, he's a very good dribbler. For a man his size, he's a very, very good dribbler. Left foot and right foot as well. Good dribbler. There's a lot of room for development. So this is why, like, it shouldn't be him and Delap. It should have been a conversation where it was Delap or him. And then now you go for an Osimhen or Gyökeres or an Isak if someone like that's available. Because these are development strikers at the end of the day. They're not strikers that are ready to come in at a club like ours and hit the ground running and score goals. We can't expect that from them, regardless of their price tag, because they're just not there yet.
They're different players. They are, but my point, they are different profiles. And Osimhen, the situation to me is very, very interesting. But before we get to Osimhen, we'll see this, because I say it's a big season for Maresca, and I say that based on, I genuinely believe, we come a couple of days before the game week 1, I believe we're going to have a very good squad. I believe you're going to have Lavia, Enzo, Caicedo, Palmer, Esteval, Santos. I think Delap is a good striker. And I think you add in any of these names, Leao, Rodrigo, what's his name? Leao, Rodrigo, Rodgers, whoever it may be. You get rid of Madueke, it could be 2 of those names. I think we're going to have a very good squad. And I think I don't want to give it to the wrong man. I don't want to give it to the wrong man. I don't know how much he's going to be. Oh my God, look at this squad. But this guy's struggling to get top 4. Because I tell you right now, if it comes game week 1 and we've got Madueke out and we've got Kudus and let's just say Rodgers on the other side, which is, to who we're linked with and how the clubs need to sell, it's possible. and then you've added Andres Santos and Esteval to that squad, I'm sorry, you better comfortably get top 4, not last game of the season. And the people say, yeah, we got it comfortably. Look at the points. We were this many points off top 4 or this many points off third or second. Listen, if you're achieving top 4 in the last game of the season, that's not comfortable. You have to get it comfortable. And I'm sorry, go for the Carabao Cup and FA Cup and go as far as possible in the Champions League. Because the last thing I want is to give this amazing score to the wrong man, which is why I said, go get Inzaghi. Go get someone like that. Someone that can deal with proper ballers, because I don't want it to be the case. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I'll be, you see, at this stage of transfer windows, right? Especially when we don't have managers, or the topic of which new manager would you bring in. I don't like to say anything until the window's closed, because it's about looking at what you definitely know you're going to be dealing with inside of your squad, and then now looking at managerial options. You know what I mean? So for now, it's very like, although the question is not there yet, because Chelsea, we know they're not going to sack him. But if that was a question for now, my answer would be I'd need to wait till the end of the season to see what's available before I can really give an informed opinion. But no, I highly agree with you. Next season, there needs to be some kind of tangible improvement. I want to see us taking the Champions League seriously. I want to see us taking the Prem seriously. At bare minimum, I want an FA Cup. I want us to win that FA Cup.
I don't think it's bad to say go FA Cup and Carabao Cup. I don't think
I'm with it.
I think people put so much.
I would want both of them 100%. You know what? You're absolutely fucking right. Sorry, language. You're absolutely right. I want both of them. That's a fact. Because realistically, we can win those 2 cups. The other 2, the Champions League and the Premier League, if we're being honest, we are off it at the moment. But regardless, we can't take our foot off the pedal, because we need to get closer to that.
Yeah, you have to. And listen, like I said, of course you got to wait, but I generally think people say put too much. It's too hard to win the Carabao Cup and FA Cup. Why? You've gone the FA Cup final, or the Carabao Cup final. Sorry, is at what, end of February? Bro, the FA Cup don't start to about a couple months before it or something.
And also as well, what's PSG's excuse? How many trophies did they pick up last season?
Man,
doesn't matter, man.
We saw it with Tuchel as well. How many finals did we get to with him?
This is what I'm saying. You gotta be greedy, man. You've always got to want more. Always got to want more.
Especially if we've got the squad that we're saying we might be building together. You know, with that left hand side, Rodgers has won the poll. By the way, he's won it. He's 38%. Say Rodgers over Leao, Nusa, and Yildiz. That's one. That one's interesting. That will be interesting. But this is the thing we were saying. It's a long summer. It's a very long summer. The window basically hasn't opened yet, which is why at the start of the stream, all I was seeing was blue card out, owners this, owners that, and I was like, bro, the window basically hasn't opened yet. It really hasn't.
I'm gonna but we said at the beginning of the stream, I understand it, because I also get caught up, because the transfer window is an emotional roller coaster. When you're emotionally invested in a club and you want to see your club improve and compete and win things every season, of course, when you're linked to some of these names, you're like, yeah, bring this guy to the club. So I get it. And when it doesn't happen, there's that disappointment. And then we're also in the period of, you know, we haven't won anything for a long time, like a major trophy, a Premier League or Champions League, whatever. We're desperate for this success. We're a fan base that demands it. We're a very sport fan base, and I'm proud of that, because we always demand success. So I can completely side with the people that get like that, because I am definitely guilty of it. But we got to remind ourselves, man, let's make judgments at the end of the transfer window.
Yeah. I think you have to, man. Come on, man. You can't make judgment now. And listen, like we've already said, with the players we're linked to and opportunities that might come up, we could go. Obviously, I might be, dreaming here, where I say we go back in for Manyan on top of getting rid of Madueke for Kudus and then getting a Rodgers. But I genuinely believe we will leave with 2 of those players. I genuinely believe we will get Manyan, and I genuinely believe we will get a Leao or Rodgers, or if you get rid of Madueke, Kudus.
Yeah,
I think it's the
the
case.
thing is as well. Yeah, and the thing is as well. Sorry to cut you off. Is like there's a lot of variables, and one thing that we haven't really spoken about in depth is potential outgoings, because outgoings are going to play a massive part on who can come into the club. Because, for example, the higher earners like Raheem Sterling, if we get him off the books, that's like 300 plus K a week off the books. That's a different conversation. Is who else is on the books that's on high wages? Ben Chilwell. If we get him off the books on top of Sterling, that's what, $500,000 a week off the books.
Yeah,
that changes conversations. And then on top of that, with the transfer fees that you might get, it changes conversations. It changes options. It might perhaps give you a better option now that you've sold this player than if you didn't. So this is what I'm talking about in terms of volatility of a transfer market. That's just one of the very few aspects.
Fact. And we talk about the market and opportunities. What we're saying about, I'm really surprised about the Osimhen deal. I think before we signed the lap, I generally thought we would go in because we spent the whole of summer going for him, and I thought we were going to pick up. And now we rejected Saudi.
He's going Man United.
He's not going United.
I think he's going Man United
without Champions League football.
I think he'll go there.
His friend, whatever that guy is on my Twitter,
Bucci.
Yeah, he said he ain't going.
Bucci said it. All right, then he ain't going.
Not Bucci. Sorry, was it him or was it, because there's two of them that always talk about it? It's Bucci guy and
Bucci's the one that I know. If Bucci said that he ain't going United, then he ain't going United.
I think it's the Bucci guy and the rapper.
The rapper, I don't know. Oh no, that guy was from P Square. I don't know much about. Yeah, I don't know. He's a musician, bruv, from back in the day. I don't know.
All he said, someone commented, "Tell Osimhen to come to Man United," and then he said his words. I also want to play Tuesdays and Wednesdays, if you know what I mean.
So yeah, Champions League football, innit?
So I genuinely don't. I think Osimhen wants to play Champions League football, which is why I'm talking about how interesting the Chelsea point is, because his options are quite limited.
But this is my thing: is you can want to play Champions League football, but what Champions League options do you have on the table with what you're asking for? What Champions League wages do you have on the table? Because Real Madrid ain't coming in for you, Barcelona ain't coming in for you, Bayern Munich don't need to go in for you either. PSG, maybe they could add a striker, maybe, or they don't have to.
PSG or Chelsea. Trophies. It's PSG or Chelsea if you watch football.
But PSG, and then on top of that, with the harmony that PSG have got in the squad, they've just won 4 trophies. They might not want to bring somebody else in that could be problematic. Because one thing we can say is that Osimhen doesn't handle the media very well, and the entourage around him either doesn't help him.
Yeah, and because Juve don't even have Champions League,
huh?
Juve don't have Champions League.
Right, there you go. So, look, Champions League options in England. Manchester City of Haaland, they've got no use for you. Liverpool, they're looking at Ekitike. Manchester United are interested, but they're not Champions League. Who else? Chelsea, we're interested, but your wages are too high.
Newcastle, and we've already got someone at the lap.
Newcastle don't need you. They've got Isak. So where are your Champions League options, my friend?
Galatasaray, maybe. Stays at Galatasaray.
They did. And but this is the thing, is with the money that they've offered him, clearly he don't want to stay in Turkey. He wants more competition for himself. He wants to play in a better league. Because for that kind of money, and you got Champions League football, it must mean that you still feel you've got a lot more to offer in a better league somewhere else.
So basically, it's Liverpool. These are the only options, not linked to. This is that we can make sense of: Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, PSG, or stay at Galatasaray.
But have Arsenal ever expressed interest in Osimhen?
Not really. I think they would rather go in for Gyökeres or Sesko.
Yeah, 100%. One of those
two. It's basically Liverpool, Chelsea, Galatasaray.
Liverpool, I don't think they're going for him.
But do you see why I'm so injured?
It's an interest. It's a funny one, isn't it?
Because we just spent the whole year going for you last summer. The whole summer we went for him. And you know what's funny? There was a video I saw. Someone posted on their Snap. They were on FaceTime or Instagram. They were on FaceTime with Osimhen, and they were talking. But the only part you can really understand is him saying, "I don't understand why Chelsea don't want to pay that money." So
But
there
it's not.
probably is
It's
still
not. A,
talks
it's
now.
not a secret. But it's not a secret. We've all known that he wants to come and play for the club. He does. But then at the same time, we also have to be honest. If Chelsea are not willing to go above 150,000, that is not an Osimhen problem. That is a Chelsea problem. Because what more does he need to do that he is worth more than 150,000 a week? What, score 20 goals for more than one season in the league? Win a Scudetto when he was at Italy? What more do you want him to do? He's one
Holy.
of the most sought after strikers in the world, or one of
we-
the top performing strikers in the world. What more else do you want?
I hate to cut you off, Goonie, but we're talking about strikers and we're talking about Arsenal and Gyökeres. Fabrizio's just dropped a bomb on it.
Oh shit! Is he going there?
Yeah, I'm just getting up now.
No way.
Yeah, man. There we go. Wow.
Join Arsenal over. Wait, hold on. What am I seeing? You gotta send me this because I
Victor
don't.
Gyökeres' priority to join Arsenal this summer, despite calls from Manchester United in recent weeks. Gyökeres is always an option, and Sesko talks with no deal sealed so far. Arsenal keep assessing the situation.
Okay,
United
so
remain keen,
no,
but
bro,
believe
don't
will
scare
not
me like that, man. Don't scare me like that, because in my head I was thinking they've agreed the deal, whatever.
Nah, but he's basically chose Arsenal. He's chosen Arsenal over United, which which is not that surprising. I think if you take into consideration they've got Champions League football.
Yeah, that doesn't mean shit. Yeah, do you know what? CNF, you're right. This don't really mean nothing as of now.
You don't think it means anything?
Right, as of now, it doesn't, because look, Arsenal have not made the bid yet, and they're still deciding between him and Sesko.
We literally just said that's why they won't go for Osimhen, and then the news broke.
But then the news just pops up. But until we see like a Romano or someone come out and say Arsenal have made the bid for Gyökeres, that's when we need to be like, oh shit, this is gonna go down, because the player's already said he's open to joining the club. But I do have a feeling that it won't be just those two clubs interested in Gyökeres. I think there will be more clubs interested. I do think there will be more clubs interested.
Do you think we're going to be in there?
We'd have to be. We'd be stupid not to. For what he's allowed to go for, and the fact that he fits in our wage structure, it wouldn't make no sense. And then on top of that, they've also said that we want to go for another striker, for sure.
But don't you think the other striker will be a different profile?
We're not going to pay. Listen, we're not going to pay 100 mil for Ekitike. We're not. That's not going to happen. Chelsea value him at like 62 million pounds. So that's not even close to 100 million euros. That's not even close to 80 million euros. So there's that. Who else do we have on the list for strikers?
Not really. If right now it's Ekitike, that 6'6" guy.
Voltamada. Okay.
Yeah, and that's about it.
So why wouldn't a striker who scored 30 plus goals this season, who fits in our wage structure, not be an option for us to look at? Yeah. Does it make sense for you, to any of you, that he's not an option?
The only thing I would say is that if we've got Delap, and I think they want a different profile to Delap. That's the only thing I would say. You know what I mean?
I hear it.
Do they want two of the same profiles?
I don't think they are, though. I don't think they're entirely both the same profile, though. I wouldn't say so.
In terms of like but I mean, Gyökeres and say Delap are very close to each other compared to Delap and
Ekitike. Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
They're almost they're almost different, you know.
Yeah.
And this might be I don't know if this even means anything, but giving them the number 9 shirt, is that like I'm confused with these numbers, by the way. I know it's Club World Cup and that, but I thought it would just be that preseason where they just give them random numbers. Like I saw Nkuku wear 45 or something. Like that's what I thought was gonna happen. But
I don't know.
To give Delap that number 9 already
don't mean nothing to me. Diego Costa wore number 19. Drogba wore number 11. Wore number 15. Should I continue? That don't matter to me. He can make it. He can come in and say, you know what? I'm taking that number 19. He might want to do that. You never know. But obviously, the number 9 is the number 9. But I don't think it's the be all and end all for a player to be coming to the club.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, listen, Arsenal here, a fan saying it means everything. His priority is Arsenal, but your priority might not
But
be Gyökeres.
that's what we're trying to make you understand, bro. Is the player can want it all he wants, but until action is taken, that's all it is.
All this tweet is basically saying is that he would rather go to Arsenal over United.
My
That's
number
what.
one priority in life is to play for Chelsea. But are they gonna come and make the decision to come and bring me there to play? No. Would it be a wise decision? No.
Yeah. This post is all it's saying is basically Gyökeres would rather go to Arsenal over and United.
And the
That's
thing
it.
is it's a positive thing. It puts
It's
you in,
positive. It is positive. Yeah.
yeah. But then there's also context to it because now, let's say if it was, I don't know, a Chelsea or a PSG that was interested, and if that came out and he said, his preference is Arsenal ahead of like a PSG, ahead of Chelsea, whatever,
Yeah.
then you know you're cooked. Because
Yeah.
we've got Champions League football. PSG have got everything. They've won everything. That's when you know that no other club is going to get him, really, if Arsenal make a bid. But that context isn't there because Manchester United don't have any kind of European football.
Yeah. Which is probably why it makes sense, you know. Like let's just be real. We have the lap for now, and the window is long. Let us look at the lap in the Club World Cup. I think the club also don't need to rush. Listen, I think we've come to the conclusion that the last thing we need to do is rush because it's a long summer. There's a lot of things that could happen. Madueke could go for over 50 million. Kudus becomes more available. Aston Villa need to sell with Morgan Rogers. Gittins is probably going to happen. How desperate are AC Milan to sell Leao? Will Chelsea go in for a striker? Is Osimhen going to be like, you know what, F it, I'll accept what Chelsea offer me because it's my best move because I really don't want to say I got a Galatasaray and no one else is coming in for me like that. Anything can bloody happen. You know, it's opening in June 16th, which is after tomorrow. It's on after tomorrow Monday. From June 16th, Goonie, to the 1st of September, this window was going to be open.
And that's where we're going to see the bulk and the main bits of business.
Exactly. That's the main business. The transfer window hasn't opened.
What's this? People, how long has this Florian Wirtz still been going on for? Since before the window, we've known this. That Liverpool and look now, it's still not even done. I mean, I know right now it's a formality. You're dotting the I's and crossing the T's, but the point still remains. It took its time. And even if it didn't go through before the Club World Cup, there's still time to go.
Yeah, of course. And this is 2.5 months, and people are already writing off Chelsea and writing off the sporting directors and saying, I thought we were going to move different with the Champions League. And I'm just like, you know what? Give it a rest. You can cook me about it all.
But here's what they do have to do. The onus is on them to earn our trust.
Yeah.
So I can understand people that do feel that way, that do feel aggrieved and do feel that they can't trust and feel disillusioned by what they've seen. I get it completely. But this is why it's because I can be that person sometimes, but this is why I have to sit down and remind myself, as much as you dislike this ownership and you dislike these directors, this is the first season that we've got Champions League football and the window is still open. If I've got my concerns, the fair thing to do, it would be to at least wait for the window to close where no more business and no more changes can be made. I think that's the fair thing to do.
Yeah. 100%. Last couple of comments. I don't want Osimhen and Leao. My Chelsea got me heavy touch ballers. Skinny Lukaku on the striker and wing. Help me, Lord. Oh, that's just violation, bro. I'm sorry. If we sign Osimhen and listen, I've heard some people say they don't really want Osimhen now because that guy is a clear drama queen, money hungry guy, and I'm just like, you know what, bro? Get your bag in it, bro. Because if I was him, I'd have been on the plane already to Saudi. You know, that's what I would have been, bro.
But then again, like depending on which kind of managers at the dugout is who can manage this, because Osimhen would be perfect for a Mourinho type. Mourinho knows how to manage players like that, and he gets the best out of these kind of players.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So it depends on what manager you've also got as well, how they're able to their man management skills. That's where that comes into it, because Diego Costa's another one, Mourinho. Absolute. Everybody thought he was a wild card. Never got a red card playing for Chelsea Football Club once, but he was a madman. Mourinho knew how to manage that kind of mentality. So the right manager works, and Osimhen's going to need the correct manager.
Yeah. We call it. I would join bitching and crying at September 1st, but I don't see movement, no point crying every minute. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's up to you to have hope or not to have hope.
Yeah.
It's up to you to have faith or not to have faith. As simple as that. But my brother Goody, go on.
I want to end on this, but at the same time, it is normal to feel all kinds of emotions during the transfer window, especially when you love a club as much as what you guys do and what we do. It's completely normal. But we have to remember to catch ourselves sometimes and be like, yo, window ain't closed. Let's chill. Because we've seen what can happen in the last week or even down to deadline day in the transfer windows. We've had many bombers and surprises in the past. Could be the same this year. You never know.
Exactly that. And exactly that. But Goody, I don't want to keep it too long. Before we do wrap up, let me know your dream transfer window. Dream transfer window. And let's try and keep it as realistic as possible.
Okay, so with the players that are available, Magnan, that's a realistic target. I would have loved to go in for Kirkes as another option as a left back. Centre back options, I'm still a little undecided about that because the players that I want are a little unrealistic as of now. Midfield, I'm going to leave that for now because I'm very happy with Santos coming in. Yeah. Left wing, my dream would be Rodrigo, and that could be realistic if he is available. Yeah. If he's available, so I'm going to stick with Rodrigo. On that right side, it'll be Kudus. Up top, it's between Isak. No, sorry, not Isak. It's between Osimhen and Gyökeres. But I hear what you're saying in terms of the profile thing with the lap. But I don't know, probably I'd probably go for Gyökeres. And only because I'm just narrowing it down to who would be the more realistic out of the two as well at this point in time. But yeah, Gyökeres.
Yeah. I mean, for me, obviously, Magnan has to be one. Haito guy looks good. He's seen a lot of, a lot of news about him playing with different profiles and whatnot. Midfield, I don't touch. I would say, Madueke goes, you're bringing Kudus 100%. Mm-hmm. I would go Leao on the left, and I'd probably go Osimhen up front because I think there's something in that Osimhen though. I think for him to I swear he accepted the Saudi move last summer.
No, I think he demanded a certain amount.
Right.
I don't know. It's confusing, but then
it's confusing. But
I remember feeling at the time that they were chasing a Saudi deal as leverage for a Chelsea negotiation. That's what I felt at the time. Because if rumors are to be believed, I don't know correct me if I'm wrong, chat, if I'm wide off the mark, but isn't it recently that he just turned down a move from Saudi?
100%. He rejected about 4 moves, 5 proposals.
Well, there you go.
But this is why I'm so fixated on it and why I believe it's not over until it's over. Because for him to reject, I think the most he rejected was 40 million plus 5 million in bonuses. Yes. 40 million a year with 5 in bonuses. 5 million bonuses. It came to about £800,000 a week.
Yeah, tax-free as well.
I think for someone to reject that,
you can never say it's about the money at that point.
and I think that takes away the Galatasaray one because he ain't gonna get more money at Galatasaray.
Yeah,
the difference between Galatasaray and Saudi is the Champions League. But I think he would bin off Champions League for that more money, which is why I still see him at a big club. And the respect to Galatasaray, big club of course, but I mean in terms of a big club in the Premier League or Europe, I still see him at one of those clubs. I honestly do still see him at one of those clubs. So this is why listen, Chelsea fans and Osimhen, it's not over till it's over. But we'll see, man. It's exciting. Transfer news, best time of the year. And we'll see who we go for. Listen, Goonie, I appreciate you coming on, my brother. One amazing conversation. Listen, Absolutely. Please link in the description and in the title. Goonie,
People,
any
you're not
final
going to
words?
find much YouTube content from me. I'm very busy these days.
I'll put
But
your Twitter in there as well. I'll put his
yeah,
Twitter
yeah.
in the
Just
description as
follow
well.
the Twitter if you wanna hear my thoughts. I'm not gonna lie, I'm very unfiltered on there, so I may or may not offend a lot or some people, or maybe not a lot of people. Who knows? So just step in there with caution. You get me? But yeah, man. Big up yourself, man. Thanks for having me on the channel, and big up everyone in the chat as well, man. Love
Big up to all of
talking.
it, man. Big up to all of it. Listen, we're gonna go to Hassam's going live in a little bit, talking about Liverpool news. So I'm gonna redirect to him. Go to his chat, spam Ziad Raid in the chat, guys. Make sure you're in his chat, spamming Ziad Raid. Show him some love. I appreciate you all joining us today, and we'll be back very, very soon. Up the Chelsea. I love peace, man.